Charlotte 911, do you need police, fire, or medic?
I need police. Somebody just been my house. I came home and I had a woman in my house and I pulled out my gun and and she's not moving.
When a woman catches her husband with another woman, they can react in a number of ways. Sometimes it is with sadness, other times it is with anger. But on occasions, the wives can feel so aggrieved that things can take a darker and far more murderous turn. First up, we have the story of a married woman who arrived home to find a 25-year-old woman named Tyra Chanel Crosby in bed with her 50-year-old husband. She had never been more shocked in her entire life, having not expected to see this at all. But what was the young woman doing there? Well, according to reports, Tyra said that she had been invited over and did not know the man was married.
She was invited there. She did not just pop up there. She was not an intruder. She was invited there.
But the married woman did not know that at the time, and she reacted in a violent, almost understandable way that not only ended in a murder, but also changed her life forever. Tyra was a 25-year-old who lived in Northwest Charlotte, North Carolina. She was a happy and well-liked person who lit up any room she walked into. She never caused any drama or fuss when she was younger and just enjoyed her life. That's why she was so popular and well-liked in her community.
Family and friends remember her as someone who was full of life and an outgoing person, but little did she know that this outgoing character would lead her to a married family and deadly ending.
Unfortunately, things changed a little for Tyra, and she had several encounters with law enforcement, being arrested on several different charges, including battery and assault. Things got more serious when she was charged with assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill and discharging a firearm into an occupied property. It's true to say that Tyra was no angel, but according to her friends and family, she was working hard to turn her life around. And despite her rap sheet, she was still a caring and compassionate person to her friends and family. But like any 25-year-old, Tyra was looking for a loving and stable relationship. She had longed to be with someone who she could care for and who would care for her, but her criminal behaviors made it difficult for her to find someone who she could get into a stable relationship with. Luckily though, Tyra eventually met a man who would change her life.
This was a young man who matched exactly what she was looking for, and they enjoyed a long, good time together.
The two of them seemed like an amazing match, and it even helped Tyra start to settle down. She would often share snippets of their life on social media too.
Who's the better cook? Who said I love you first? Who takes longer to get ready in the morning? Who's the grumpier one in the morning? Who's more stubborn? Who's the bigger baby when sick? Who's the social butterfly? Who's the messy one? Who works out more? Who requires more attention?
But despite the seemingly happy relationship, Tyra soon met another man. She was out at a club with some friends when she bumped into someone she didn't recognize but instantly formed an intense connection with. That person was a 50-year-old man named Albert Alexander Albert. Albert and Tyra spent the evening together dancing, drinking, and talking. Of course, Albert was married to a 51-year-old woman called Stephanie Alexander. Stephanie had 5 children from a previous relationship, though she took her duties as a wife just as seriously as she did her duties as a mother. She worked some strange hours, and as such, Albert knew exactly when his wife would and wouldn't be home. He took advantage of this and asked Tyra to come back to his house with him. Enamored with the 50-year-old man who was making advances on her, Tyra agreed.
At this point, we don't know if Tyra's response was influenced by the drinks she had taken or the conversations they had earlier. Tyra accepted Albert's home invitation, completely unaware of his marital status.
But what Tyra could not have known was that this innocent decision would be one that set the stage for tragedy to happen. She went back to Albert's house where they started to get even closer, and things got incredibly heated. The two of them headed to the bedroom for a night of passion, but things took an unexpected turn when when Stephanie arrived home, completely out of the blue. Walking in through the door, Stephanie was met with the shocking sight of her husband Albert in their bed with a much younger woman. Reacting on angry instinct, Stephanie threw herself at Tyra and started fighting with the younger woman. Tyra tried to call her mother for help, hoping that she would come and get her out of this sticky situation, but because it was the middle of the night, the call went unanswered, going straight to voicemail. Tyra inadvertently left a recording of Stephanie attacking her before a loud bang rang out, and then there was silence. While this call has never been made public, it is theorized that it documents Tyra's assault and beatings at the hands of Stephanie. The young woman must have been repeatedly and mercilessly tortured for her transgression before ultimately being shot to death. However, the weight of what she had done quickly settled on Stephanie, and she panicked, calling the police department.
Charlotte 911, do you need police, fire, or medic?
I need police. Somebody just been my house. I came home and I had a woman in my house, and I pulled out my gun and and she's not moving.
When the officers arrived at the house, they were expecting to find Tyra with a bullet wound that had killed her. However, they were concerned to see that the body was clearly beaten black and blue and had signs of prolonged torture all over it. This was clearly more than just a case of a simple, panicked shooting. Tyra had obviously been made to suffer before her death. Immediately, Stephanie and Albert were arrested, being the primary suspects in this brutal beating and murder. The authorities wanted to question the two of them separately about what had happened in that house and what had led up to Tyra's unfortunate death at the hands of the scorned wife. Ultimately, while Albert had been the one to lure Tyra to the home, he had not intended to kill her. He had merely intended to have some good, clean, or should that be dirty, adult fun with her, and then she would go on her way. But Stephanie's arrival home threw a spanner in the works. The police soon discovered the truth of what had happened in that house on that fateful and violent night.
Her husband, Albert Alexander, was also interviewed, providing his account of the events. Following these interviews, authorities charged Stephanie with voluntary manslaughter. She was processed at the Mecklenburg County Jail on Tuesday, July 18th at approximately 6 a.m.
It was clear that Stephanie had flown into a rage after seeing her husband with a side chick. She was not going to stand for it, and the result was deadly. But the story doesn't end there. You see, Stephanie was released the very same day after posting a staggering $250,000 bond. It didn't seem right or fair that Stephanie was allowed out on bond after killing Tyra, but there was nothing anyone could do about it. The killer was free. Tyra's distraught mother started petitioning for Stephanie's charges to be upgraded, considering the severity of the murder and everything that happened before the trigger was pulled.
Right now, she's charged with the lowest form of murder. I want it up to first-degree murder.
Stephanie's charges were ultimately upgraded to second-degree murder when the case was eventually brought to trial. There's no doubt that these are more appropriate charges, and she is still currently waiting for her fate to be decided by the courts. But there is one thing for certain. This scorned wife had the last laugh against her husband's side chick. A similar story is that of 24-year-old Anya Mack, who was in an incredibly stable and seemingly very loving relationship. To the outside eye, things seem to be going well, but of course things aren't always as they seem. She had been a promising young woman who was also incredibly popular and well-liked. As such, she soon attracted the attention of another student, basketball player Donovan Lewis. The two of them started dating, and they were a real power couple, something which only flourished in the following years. However, one day, Anaya failed to show up to work, something which was highly unusual. She loved her job and was great friends with all of her colleagues, so to just not show up one day without warning was very strange indeed. Her family and friends called around trying to get hold of her, but no one was successful. Donovan revealed that she had been scheduled to meet with another man that day, Reverend Dr. Strick Strickland.
This man was Reverend Dr. Strick Strickland, who served at Kalamazoo's Second Baptist Church, and also the president of the Metropolitan Kalamazoo branch of the NAACP. However, when contacted, the pastor confirmed he hadn't seen or spoken with Anaya in quite a while, deepening the family's concerns.
But even the Strickland said he had not seen her. That's when officers decided to go to Anya's home and try to find out what had happened to the young woman.
Mr. Mack contacted the Kalamazoo Police Department to report his daughter missing. officers were dispatched to Aniya's apartment building to conduct a welfare check. After receiving no response to their knocks, they entered the premises. What they discovered was deeply troubling.
Officers found attempts to clean up blood in the house, as well as other bits of damning evidence that pointed towards Aniya's disappearance being anything but normal. They also found multiple alcohol bottles throughout the house, suggesting that Aniya had been entertaining at her home before she went missing. During an interview at the police station, Aniya's boyfriend Donovan started opening up about how their relationship wasn't as perfect as it seemed. He said that she was also in a relationship with Reverend Dr. Strickland. He started to suspect something when he found out that the pastor not only frequently visited Aniya, but also bought her a vehicle and paid the rent on her home.
Lewis showed investigators an text from the pastor that read, "I'm trying to offer you the best of your life, but you're running from it."
This put the pastor directly in the crosshairs for the police. If he was having some kind of affair with her, then perhaps he had been the one to have killed her for some reason. Or maybe his wife had found out and come to take her revenge on Aniya. The authorities started an investigation into Strickland, looking into how he and Aniya had become friends and everything that went on between them. But as they did that, they received a tip about a social media post that Donovan had made. While it wasn't necessarily an admission of guilt, it did read as a confession of sorts and turned the police's suspicions back toward Aniya's boyfriend.
The post contained what appeared to be a confession. It read, "I just hope all of you can forgive me. I apologize to anyone that ever looked up to me and loved me."
Rushing to the home that Donovan shared with his grandmother, the boyfriend emerged with his hands up, knowing that the game was up. He had been found out, and he could no longer try to push the blame onto anyone else. After being taken back to the station, Donovan admitted to killing Aniya after the two of them had been drinking at her apartment. He had confronted her about her relationship with the Reverend, and things had got heated and eventually violent. He had eventually struck her, knocking her out, before taking a knife to her throat and ending her life. He then disposed of her body before trying to get rid of as much evidence as he could. He was eventually arrested and charged with murder, proving that it's not just women who are willing to murder upon discovering their partners have been having a little extra fun on the side. So now it's over to you. Were these people justified in the murder of their partners after discovering their secret affairs? And how would you react if you found yourself in a similar position? Be sure to let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below. If you haven't already, please give this video a like and a subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.